final subject. This is like viewer questions.
Yeah, it's quite a good one.
Really good question, and it allows us to talk about the Faceless, which is cool.
The bandless.
Yeah. Hey guys, love the podcast. Super stoked to get turned onto your music. I'm curious what your thoughts and experiences are with finding other musicians to play with. I'm currently in a death metal band and our drummer left, so we're looking for a new guy.
Just about every single death metal band that's ever existed, or metal band in general, goes through this. Sorry, continue.
So we're looking for a new guy, but it feels like if there's anyone out there that's able and willing to play something so specialised, they're already in 3 bands and getting hit up all the time. I'm under the impression that Levi doesn't play in bands, but I'm sure he's worked with a lot of musicians and could therefore have a good insight, and I'd like to hear about the process of putting Party Cannon together. Cheers, guys. Keep it up, and cheers from the Bay Area.
First of all, thank you very much for the question. Bay Area is a beautiful place. Played at Bay Area Death Fest 2015 and 2017. Cool place, man.
I'm sure you'll be back.
I hope so, man. That'd be fucking awesome. Very, very good question, and as I interrupted Levi also rudely, because yep, that is the nature of playing in metal bands, especially death metal bands. Almost every kind of band, really. Like, drummers are the hardest member to get, who are consistent, talented, and available.
Kendo had the same problem when he's still trying to put together a black metal band, isn't he? Yeah. And he can find drummers, but they don't play black metal. No, they play maybe thrash and he's a snob for black metal, and like a super snob for black metal is what he's always been into.
Not just for black metal in general.
Yeah,
and that's fair. I was talking to Chris about what it is to be an elitist, and he's like, it doesn't make you an elitist to know what you like and know what you want. And I was like, that's fair. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
So
people have used that as an insult towards me. You're such an elitist, Levi. Hang on a minute. You're telling me it's a bad thing to want the best person.
Aye. Don't you dare have
for
your
a
own
given
standards.
setting. Like, I would absolutely love it if we lived in a world whereby our government was run by the objectively the best person suitable. I'm a fucking elitist. Yes,
that'll never happen.
I know,
unfortunately.
It'd be nice though.
Yeah. Back to the question. Talking about getting band members, it is a fucking nightmare when you can't find someone who is consistent, available, and dedicated, as I say, and who can actually do the stuff and available as well. In regards to Party Cannon, I wasn't there for the inception of the band. I joined 2013 or 2014. Can't remember exactly when. I actually was just a fill-in member for the other guitarist at the time. I went and toured with the band. Martin had not long joined the band, who is the current drummer. So obviously lineup changes do happen and have happened in the band as well, and it's not a thing that we are not unaware of. We actually had the conversation about ever-changing band members and when do you draw the line of that band being the band that was before and not anymore, kind of thing.
As long as you've got a bass player that plays without his shoes on, it'll be Party Cannon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, if we're totally honest, like, the same way that Dave Mustaine is Megadeth, Chris is Party Cannon. Like, he is. We've had fill-in members before in gigs where I've maybe not made it or whatever. The show must go on. We actually played some gigs without Chris as well, unfortunately. Definitely did miss him. But yeah, to go back to the idea of putting bands together, like, there is no formula and there's no hidden secret and there is no answer to finding the right members. You just have luck of the draw. You might have the most technical and best drummer you've ever met randomly message you, I'd love to come and try out the band. You get them in the studio, they are shit hot, all their own equipment, everything's perfect. They're very much into the idea of music business, and then they say, oh, I've actually got 5 other bands and I can only practice with you once a month and maybe do 2 gigs a year. Like, unless your intentions are just to be a studio band and to maybe not do anything, it's just not going to happen.
I've got this huge grin on my face because it's like, you don't want my input on this subject, person that didn't give us his name, because you're right, Levi doesn't play in bands and you're sure that he's worked with lots of, I have worked with lots of musicians. Like, I am the cynical conclusion of everything Mike has just said. You know,
we've had this conversation many times.
Hellcat Molly was a band that I put together in London because I got to know Dave, who was a great guitar player, but I found out he could sing. Will Cass was originally played bass in the band. Again, that was because he could play really well. And I needed a bass player. Doug Cartwright was second guitarist in the band because he's one of my best friends. And
Great guy, phenomenal musician.
And these guys had all known each other for a year before I met them, and they'd always talked about doing something. But I was kind of the boot up the arse. That was just like, it's fucking happening. Let's make it happen.
Fingers out.
And then so Will couldn't get on board with being the bass player because we currently had 4 guitar players. Like, egos get in the way. So Will wasn't, for the sake of the friendship, Will couldn't continue. So we took on Sean playing bass. Sean was just someone I lived with. He wasn't ideal for the band, but it was just what was. The first drummer who did the first rehearsal was also someone I lived with because I went to music school, obviously, so I knew a lot of musicians, but totally wasn't the right fit. And then Hugh, who ended up being our drummer for all of our touring and gigging life in London, he was the year below us in university, and we just crashed in on a live performance workshop for the year below us because we just needed a drummer and no one in our year was suitable. So we just sat through and just waited until there was someone that just had some attitude. And Hugh, he got up and played Cold Shot by Stevie Ray Vaughan and just like totally inappropriate spinning sticks and everything, and just like being a badass,
just not giving a fuck. That's great. I love
and then
that.
we obviously walked up to him afterwards and was like, "Hey, we're in the year above you, and we need a drummer, so you're joining our band because we're obviously cooler than you." He's in a really successful band now, though. Actually, so
good on him.
Yeah, sucks. I forget what they're called, but he's doing really well.
If we remember, we'll put it in the links below.
Yeah, I'm sure I can dig it out on my Facebook. I've not really spoken to you in many years.
Hugh, if you're listening, feel free to leave a comment.
He won't be listening.
Nah, probably not. But in the very rare chance you are, leave a comment on YouTube and we'll promote that.
Point is, that kind of worked, but it was never ideal. It was we worked with what we had, kind of thing, and then took a long gap from the band doing anything, and then I decided to write a solo album. And then when I finally got songs together, it was like, well, these aren't really instrumental guitar tunes; these are songs. This feels like a band thing. And I was like, well, I can't possibly put an album out and not call it Hellcat Molly, because when you say Chris is Party Cannon, Levi is Hellcat Molly. Yeah. Hellcat Molly was my name. It was my project that I put together. It just felt wrong to call it anything else. I got Lee Costanza on drums at that point. Through his association with Doug. Lee is a fantastic drummer. Is he perfect for Hellcat Molly? I mean, he contributes. Mm-hmm. I'd say, like, he helps make that sound the way it does, because it's not me talking down about him, but he overplays, and I love that. I told him to overplay Lee, just because I program drums. So what I want when a drummer comes in and plays on my songs is for them to do all the things that I wouldn't do if I programmed the drums.
Yep. If
overplay.
If you were auditioning for a band and wanted to show off and still nail the music in the pocket, what would you do? And I think that's pretty much like all of the drumming on the album.
Yes. Lee is basically the featured instrument on that, which is fair enough. But point is, now, again, I've talked about doing Hellcat Molly again, and it's the same problem, just trying to find a drummer, and, life is hard. Finding the right person is impossible.
Right.
So I just sink into my studio and do everything on my own, and who knows if anything will ever come. I can sympathise, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think we all can. Like, I've had previous bands where we gave up on looking for a drummer and just started programming drums, and basically turned up to gigs, 2 guitarists, bassist, vocalist, and a laptop with a breakout box, and basically plugged straight into the PA system and just run drum backing tracks, maybe a couple of daft things on the background, like samples and synths and whatever else. Not much more samples, to be honest, but
it's not ideal.
It wasn't, but it worked for us.
Yeah.
It was good, and I think it was probably a good thing for the band as well, because it meant that you didn't have to worry about an inconsistent drummer or not turn up to practice or whatever. You literally plugged a laptop in, the drums were perfectly on time, and you knew what BPM it was going to be. So by the time you were gigging, once you practiced songs, you were on the note perfect. You were there. You knew what to expect. Not a replacement for a real drummer by any matter of means.
So let me throw a suggestion of a way that he might be able to fix this. And so you talk about, like, playing a death metal band and our drummer left. This is where things could be problematic, because you've talked about the genre that you're playing, and to me the solution is probably just get a drummer and work with the sound that you have, and let that shape the band to be what they are. It might not be what you pictured initially, but it might result in a fresh sound. The example I think of is that Abarth album, great album.
That's the weird kind of crossover punk rock one, isn't it?
Yeah. And it sounds to me like what would happen if you had black metal musicians playing with a hard rock drummer.
Yeah, aye. It's like,
it's cool.
That's exactly it. You're right. Like, I can't think of any other way to describe it that isn't just that on the head. Like,
that works for me. Like if I wanted to put a black metal band together and I couldn't find a drummer, I wouldn't just give up on the idea. I'd go, okay, well, I'm going to take all of these sounds and influences I have. I'm going to work with the people that I can work with. So I'm not going to find the best drummer for the project that I had in mind, but I'm going to find the best drummer I know that is available. And hopefully, if anything, that seems more promising to me, because you're going to create something new, something fresh. People might... I struggle with black metal. Mainly because of the drumming and the production.
But yeah, those are parts of the music, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, but the point is, maybe find someone and just play and see what happens. You might hate what happens. You might, find a really good indie rock drummer in a death metal band. No.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You do get some guys that can play everything. And
yes.
The other thing that might be worthwhile doing, and I've seen a few bands doing it over the last few years, is the idea of having session musicians do drums for recordings and stuff is very popular at the moment, and there's so many drummers out there who'll do sessions, including writing the drums, recording the drums, and sending you the stems and stuff, for almost no money.
That's
really,
what
when you
Lee
think
does.
about what you're putting in. Exactly, like people like that, and then you've got guys as well who are top of their game. Kevin Talley, Kevin Paradis, they all do sessions. If you don't really know them, Kevin Talley's been in just about every death metal band that matters. Kevin Paradis is Mithridatic, I think his band is called, and he's done another few sessions. And then you've got guys like Naveen Coppervice and Alex Rudinger, and as I say, these are all guys that are usually playing in kind of like metal, death metal, tech metal, gent bands and stuff like that. But these guys can pretty much slot into any band you imagine, and they don't charge a lot of money for their service, because what they're going to give you is a incredibly high quality recording of drums to a very high standard of ability at a reasonable price. And if you do that and you put out a solid recording that like showcases your band, you might find the right members come to you rather than you searching for them, because there's no doubt there'll be people who are jumping at the opportunity to jump into these bands who maybe are having a bit of bad luck with finding the right member, but then they put out some really high quality music and showcase, look, we are fucking serious here. We're not five guys sitting in a room going, oh, we really wish we had a drummer. Oh, I know, we'll just play Mario Kart instead. Like, they're out there going, nah, fuck this, we're grafting and we're going to make something of it. Even if they can't do live shows without just getting someone as a session drummer and a stand-in, they're still doing infinitely more than guys that are sitting in the house going, I wish I could find a drummer.
Yep.
And that's not like a slant or a slight on people who aren't out there doing that, because they maybe never thought of it. But I think that would probably be the route I would think Party Cannon might go down if for any reason we didn't have a drummer, or if Martin left or whatever.
It's a great way.
Not that's going to happen.
Great way of looking at things.
Oh yeah, you need...
It's not worked for me, but
it's your luck. It really
point is, it'd be a lot easier for me to find a drummer now with the Hellcat Molly album.
Oh, definitely, because you can hear the stuff that Lee's done on it, and as you say, he's the kind of showcase instrument on there. If you've got somebody out there who's thinking, I don't want to play the most technical music, but I want stuff where there's plenty of flair and there's enjoyment in it, I get to just fuck about.
Yeah.
Guys have been jumping left, right and centre going, that looks great fun to play.
In fairness, it should be easy for me to find a drummer, so why have I not? It's because I don't go out and look. And
yeah, you haven't been looking.
You have to go out and look and find these people.
Yeah.
I just expect to meet people that know someone. So eventually I'll just be like, Kieran, can you play drums for me, please? Or can you introduce me to a drummer, please? Or like Big Dan Brennan. I'm like, Dan, you work with loads of drummers and you like the Hellcat Molly album. You can play bass as well. So why don't you... who's a good drummer? Let's put something together.
Fun fact, Kieran's one of the best drummers I've ever heard play. Maybe I'm being like, I don't know.
He's also Bone Idol though, so
yeah.
I feel bad saying that actually, because as we know, Kieran is our biggest listener. So sorry, Kieran.
Is it a paradox that I'm his greatest fan, he's our greatest fan at the same time?
Yeah, the world's going to end. All right, so let's move on to on this subject of band members and hired guns and shit like this. Everybody but Michael Queen has just quit the Faceless.
This was only a few days ago as well.
Again.
And it was a big public statement given, pretty much making it obvious and not being diplomatic about it. And if we're totally honest, that's not unexpected from the Faceless at this time. Like, so many ex-members are coming out and saying things really negative about the band, the environment of the band, and unfortunately Michael Keane himself directly. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the Faceless, they have 4 albums, and I think they've had more lineup changes than they've had songs. That's not me trying to be an asshole. That's genuinely, there's so many members have came and went with the band. Like the first album, I think there's 3 separate drummers on it. Well, that's because they wanted people to fill in and do individual tracks or what, I don't know. But more or less, they don't have a great track record. Started, well, from probably about middle of last year, they started doing more stuff. They released an album, booked a load of shows. I very cynically put up on Facebook, haha, there's no chance they will play in all of those shows. They came to Glasgow and unfortunately had to pull out the gig. I believe the drummer had a lot of problems with his back, and those are ongoing. If that's the case, sorry you had to deal with that, and I hope you recover soon and everyone's good for you. But I called it like I seen it. They're going to pull out of gigs.
I saw someone jump to their defence on when you posted that on Facebook, like,
That's right.
they're nice guys, and you were like, well, that's as maybe, but
they can be as nice as they want.
They have a track record for not following through with gigs.
No, they're unreliable, and that is not a rumour. That is fact. There is plenty of evidence to state why I believe that and why I stick to that assumption. And that wasn't a very nice conversation, actually. I felt as if it was like almost I was being made to be an asshole for having that opinion. And that's fair. I can take that in the chin. The way I presented it basically was, ha 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 ha, you thought the Faceless were going to play and I told you so, they're not. Arsehole patter, but I will deal with it.
You're a guitar solo.
Exactly, like, but I wasn't being wrong. I wasn't calling anyone out for it. I was just basically saying, why didn't you listen in the first place? They've fallen into the same trap they always do, the same bad habits. Anyway, to go back to the story, Ken Sorcerin, who's the fill-in vocalist, or was, basically put a full statement out saying, yeah, the Faceless was good, but for reasons very obvious to anyone with access to the internet, I'm off, as are the rest of the members. Michael made it unworkable in that scenario. In fact, I'll just read the full quote out. It's not a big statement, to be honest. Basically, Ken's Facebook was, for reasons that are easy for anyone with internet access to guess, almost word for word, I would like to announce that I am leaving the Faceless. While I will miss playing with my boys Justin McKinney and Bryce Butler, both very good musicians, and some good times have been had over the last 2 years, the bad times have definitely overshadowed the good. I have no ill will towards the band or their manager EJ Shannon, who really did his best to help the band recover over the last couple of years and wish everyone the best. But without going into the details publicly, I think it's no secret that there are some deep-seated problems, and I no longer want the stress and anxiety that comes along with being in this band. I'll be putting my full focus back into Abigail Williams and The Accuser as I'm finishing up new records for both bands over the next couple of months. And if memory serves correctly, I think a couple of the guys actually joined. In fact, Bryce Butler, the drummer, he's obviously left the Faceless and done so by announcing on Facebook, left job at the Faceless, started new job at Abigail Williams. So those guys obviously have some chemistry and work together well.
Yep.
The only common denominator for them all leaving is Michael Keane.
Well, yeah, then shortly later on that same day, they updated. Justin McKinney posted the following statement. After dealing with the Faceless for roughly 4 years now...
But before you go any further, after dealing with the Faceless,
yeah,
even the language is strong.
Yeah. I have decided that I need to remove myself from the band. It's not easy doing this, but being treated the way I have over the last years is just something I can't take anymore. I'm not going publicly into detail, but if you have access to the internet, it should be apparent what's going on here. It's been super fun and incredible touring and playing alongside Ken, Bryce, and Chasen. And we all had high hopes in repairing the band, worked hard and dealt with things we shouldn't have, and EJ Shannon management really busted his ass to do so as well. I love all the guys and I wish them nothing but the best, but I need to push forward and focus on the reason why I even do this, and that is Zenith Passage. I'll see you all soon.
Again, another great band, Zenith Passage. Managed to share the stage with them 2015 at Bay Area Death Fest. And
then Bryce Butler also just updated his Facebook to say left job at Faceless and then started new job at Abigail Williams.
With Ken.
So it seems that this Michael Keane character is just next level arsehole.
No, I think he's got a reputation, quite rightly, for falling into bad habits. The habits being drug habits and not being nice to people. And everyone basically going, nah, fuck you. Not on screen at the moment for us to refer to, but something I read elsewise is actually fans coming out against him and basically saying things like, I paid Michael Keane X money to do this recording for my band or this mix or for these tabs. and have yet to get them.
And nothing came of it.
Exactly. Now, there's other statements out there from people like Ken Sorson and stuff that aren't publicly that way. I'm saying it's Ken, it might not have been him, but basically other members, basically saying, Michael, you're a cunt, you fuck people over, you keep taking money from fans, etc., blah, blah, blah. And it's to the point where it's nearly mimicking what happened with what we're talking about again a few episodes ago with the Heart Machine and Al Moomin, people from ex-members of the band calling a member who's still out. Now, for all intents and purposes, we're talking about Chris being part of canon. Michael Keane is the Faceless and Al Moomin is the Heart Machine. Like, they are the faces and the main force and the founders of those bands. But people consistently coming out and publicly condemning them is insane. Like,
in this industry, it takes a lot for someone to be willing to speak ill of someone else.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've noticed that time and time again. I'm obviously willing to do it at the drop of a hat. Why
You're
not?
just an asshole.
Yeah, why the fuck not?
You're an asshole.
Yeah, but generally speaking, people keep their grievances private. So for them to be willing to go public with these things, we're talking like next level wrongdoing. These people have been proper wronged.
Oh yeah,
or they feel that they're really protecting someone else by coming out and saying it. Either members of the public that are looking to spend money or potential future band members. So
I think there's two parts to it. I think they feel as if they've been wronged in a business aspect. They've joined a band, possibly under false pretense, been promised something that's not going to happen. But on a personal level as well, that's their reputations that are then in question as being associated with not Michael Keane, but that band, that unreliability, that poor business. That's dangerous for anyone who is trying to make music business work for them. If you're known as someone who's flaky and irresponsible and you keep the wrong company in terms of people who will detract from your, I don't even know how to say it, like social value, like what you are worth as a musician or as a professional, then of course you're going to cut ties to them. You're going to take a step back and say, I think my reputation and I are better than this.
Times have changed. It's not the 80s anymore.
Correct.
If you find a member of your band is doing drugs, it's not tolerated anymore. It can't be tolerated anymore. If I was in a band and I caught one of my band members doing heroin, they'd either be thrown out of the band, or if it was their band, I would be out immediately.
Yeah,
because it's just they've become a liability.
Yep. That's a different story. Like, again, it's like other ex-members of the Faceless calling out Michael, saying things like, you're telling members of the crowd that you're too nervous to play your guitar parts, and it's because you're just too strung out on heroin and like selling equipment that belongs to the band. That might even be other individual stuff. He just said selling their band's equipment from lots, and people giving you money to pay for the storage for the equipment and you using it on something else, and that stuff then being sold off at auction. So we're now out of money and the equipment that we had. Like, it's just unacceptable, like, altogether, but especially in the current climate where anyone can have access to that information instantly. If you are fucking people over in a business sense, in a personal sense, and they are not likely to be held accountable for calling you out, they're going to, even if they are, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that Ken and Bryce, etc., no doubt will get shit from people for turning their back on Michael, but let's be totally honest here. These are professional musicians trying to make a living, or at least trying to make a go at it and make a name for themselves, who under the circumstances are being sold short, and by continuing that business relationship, not challenging that, they're putting themselves in the same pedestal and public image as Michael, which is not good at all. Fuck that. It doesn't sound good to me.
So I guess the warning message is be careful of who you work with.
To a degree. I think it's a...
For the guy that was asking the question about,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Just, go out, do your best, and be careful. Don't work with liabilities.
Set your expectations.
Yeah. Okay, I guess that's us.
Pretty much. Any other questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, insults? Fire them our way. Whether you want to send me a fucking angry letter, an email, a text, a Facebook message, leave comments on YouTube, or can you leave comments on SoundCloud and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, comments on SoundCloud.
I'd like more comments on SoundCloud.
That'd be good. as ever, we're interested to know which other mediums you'd like us to put this out on. Obviously, we're out on YouTube for the video stuff. For the audio, we're across pretty much all the major podcast.
Still waiting to hear back from Spotify. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially that's it. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends. It's a big help. I'll probably split this one into 3 sections again, like I did with a couple of episodes ago, so you can check out each individual section on YouTube. But yeah, generally speaking, subscribe on whatever podcast formats you're using, and tell your friends if you enjoy us. Tell your enemies if you don't. And we will see you for another episode soon. And Mike gave us a catchphrase last time, so Mike,
bye fuckers.